start with something I've seen over and over again. We all design stunning buildings. We come up with bold designs and carefully chosen finishes. And then a few months or a year down the line, we realize that paints have started to peel. Basically, there is a smell of damp. There is you know uh, tiles popping out at places. Uh, I don't know if this sounds familiar, but I've seen it at a lot of places in course of my work. Uh, so here's the thing: we as architects often think that waterproofing is someone else's job, uh, but frankly, maybe the engineer's job, maybe the contractor's job. But in truth, if you're an architect, waterproofing is definitely a part of your job, because while designing a building, you're talking about a good concept, you're talking about aesthetics, and waterproofing usually takes a back seat. Uh, but you can't separate durability from design. So if the roof leaks or if your bathroom floods, that stunning stone cladding that you've done, is done for. And if we as architects want our buildings to last, obviously waterproofing should be on our mind. If not the foremost thing, it should be a very important piece. So coming back to, so if we come back to, say, what water damage actually does, it gives you, cracks in wall, peeling paint, short surface circuits, which is a safety hazard. It molds, smells, rising damp, pest infestations. The list goes on. It's not just unpleasant. It's expensive to fix, it's messy, and it ruins the design intent. So at the end of the day, it's a very critical thing. Uh, and the worst part is once the building is finished, it's extremely difficult to locate the source of the leak, the problem at hand, and you have to open up large sections of your roof, large portions of your sunk slabs, to really find the source. And even after doing all that, you may not be completely successful. If you have this in mind, and if you are working in conjunction with your other colleagues, that is your consultants, your contractors, the MEPF guys, then you're likely to prevent all this, which obviously is very important. Anyway, a good design can prevent half these problems before they start. Here's what works for us, as architects. Basically, simple things like a good cross ventilation, you know, can go a long way in preventing internal humidity buildup. Shading, that is, wrap around balconies, wrap deep verandas. These aren't just pretty things, these protect internal walls, this and create a buffer. Drainage sounds insipid, appears to be very basic, but it's just as easy to mess it up. So my advice is plan it early, otherwise it's bound to create a havoc in your design. Roof slopes, overhangs, a good chhaja still works wonders. There is a question of material selection. It's obvious that when you selecting porous materials or elsewhere, you make sure what the gentleman talked about, good sealants, good, make sure that it works. I mean, there is zero leak tolerance um, from your end. Other than this is basically waterproofing is also about managing water that comes in, if comes in as efficiently and conservatively as possible. How to waterproof sustainably? Like basically, the water that's coming through, if you channelize it properly, if you harvest it properly, you can use it for a lot of purposes. You can reuse it for your irrigation purposes. You can even use it for drinking water. You can even use it. You can treat it in different ways and put it back into the system. To broadly sum this up, we're talking about a good design is something that performs not immediately, but 5, 10, 20 years later. And waterproofing is definitely going to be a big part of that. Thank you. Thank you for listening.